All right, so ladies and gentlemen, for the next 10 or so minutes, I will be talking about how do we actually take these innovations that we were shown on this previous presentation, how do we take them to become new industries? And what we're actually looking at is that, as we all know, there are certain material needs that need to be satisfied, and of course, biomaterial sources provide an alternative, a viable alternative to many of these needs. On the other hand, we know that there are several sources of biomass available. Of course, today we've been talking mainly about forests, but of course there are the agricultural residues, there are algae, there are other aqueous biomass and other sources where you can get lignocellulosic biomass. Now the question really is the so-called biorefining. So how do we actually transfer these fairly heterogeneous raw materials into these products? And that is the big question mark. And the refining means basically that we sort of separate the different species and we modify, whether it's lignin cellulose, extractives, or any other compounds, into something that we can use in industrial scale in order to satisfy all the societal needs that we need to be satisfied. And that is really the big question mark still, and that is the work that a lot of these scientists that you see here today are working hard at. And really, when looking at, I mean, most of the things that you see here, and I've seen the fantastic examples of the optical fibers, or some of them are still at fairly low technological readiness level. And really, the question is that how do we bridge the development from research to products? And I would claim that actually the future of bioeconomy really depends on our ability to do that. So we can actually demonstrate that these are viable technologies, these are viable products, and then after that commercialize. Because without commercializing, they will never end up in our everyday use. And I think our success is being measured against being able to deliver these products, services for the society. And then when you start thinking that okay, I mean, this research has been going on for so long, why does it take so long to do it? Just an example, this is more applicable to process development that gives you an idea of the steps that are required in order to go from an idea all the way to a product. So I guess the majority of you are familiar with the technology readiness level, which was developed by NASA when they tried to send a man to the moon. Technology readiness level 0 was when Kennedy had said, well, we want to go to the moon not because it's easy, but because it's hard. And then technology level 9 was when Apollo 11 was on its way to moon. And everything between was sort of technological development, systems development at different scales. And that's exactly the same what's happening when we're developing these products or processes. And here you can see some of the timelines, but also on the left side you can see the amount of money that is required in order to make these steps, which makes you think that this is actually something that takes a lot of stamina, it takes a lot of time, it takes perseverance, and of course it also takes consistency in order to push through these ladders of development. Also, you can see here the different stages where when we start with the universities and research institutes, very soon their financial capability ends, and we need to get private capital in one way or another in order to develop these further and eventually becoming new industries. So you could say 10 years, 200 million, and then you get a new product or process. And actually, it's also interesting when we saw there was an example of for example, some of the textile examples that are coming out of Finland now. A lot of the groundwork was done over 10 years ago. So it is a sort of a process that takes time and also takes faith, and it takes also you need to have some sort of funding mechanisms that are not varying over time but are actually consistent over that time. And I will specifically focus when we think about the audience and when we think about what could we do actually in order to help this. One of the most crucial steps is piloting, and piloting is actually where we want to see in large scale whether something works. A lot of the research until this far and also this step is about technological de-risking. When we do something in a small scale, it doesn't mean it actually works in a larger scale. But but you need to get this crucial information before you start investing for real into the production. This is the phase where sort of you want to minimize the uncertainty, but also you see that your costs associated with the development are rising rapidly. And this is often called as a valley of death, which you need to cross if you want to be successful. And how can we make the crossing of valley of death a bit more easier for companies, so we can actually both accelerate the development and also make sure that a lot of these ideas actually eventually end up becoming industrial products. And there I would draw your attention on the concept of technology infrastructures. Basically, technology infrastructures are, I would say, they are the open access infrastructures where companies and other players can come and scale up their product or process, utilizing the infrastructure that exists. Typically, for example, research and technology organizations like VTT is providing these type of infrastructures, but it can also be a company. And basically there you can utilize, there are a couple of benefits. First of all, you don't have to invest in your own piloting capacity. Secondly, you will have the seasoned professionals that have been doing scaling up for years and years, so you can draw on their accumulated experience on actually making it more successful. And these come in many names. Some call these demonstrators, some call these open access pilots, some call these test beds. But really, the network of having a network of such installations is crucial, not only in bioeconomy, actually many fields of technical or technological development of Europe. And this is something that needs to be properly recognized also as a sort of something that exists right next to the research infrastructures, where the task and the purpose is different. These are not to sort of generate new knowledge, these are to develop new products and processes. And interesting, I will skip this. So basically, if I draw on to certain conclusions, I had here 4 elements of success, and I will then have a 5th one too. First of all, of course, we need to have policies in place, both industrial policies and R&D policies that actually support this goal of moving from research to industry with accelerated speed, because that's what we need. And not only in bioeconomy, we need this in all the aspects of green and digital transition. Then, of course, we need also a landscape. If I think from an investor point of view, why would I invest in new production? Why would I invest in new facility? I have to be sure that there is a regulatory landscape that actually promotes me to take the risk rather than makes me think twice or 3 times, should I actually do this or not? Of course, when you're looking at the whole timeline and also the necessary funding required for this, we need to, of course, have sufficient funding. And of course, last but not least, of course, demand from all of us for these type of products. So it's not, the policies cannot make everything happen. Money cannot make everything happen. There also needs to be a sort of desire and pull from us as consumers in order to want these type of products. And my 5th point is actually for all of our researchers and us researchers. So we should also take a look at the mirror. We love to play around with our ideas. We love our babies. But what we should really do is also make sure that our babies, I mean, you don't necessarily want your babies to grow up too quickly. But I think in our case, we should be making our babies to grow up too quickly and also look at all kinds of possibilities and opportunities in order to accelerate the development as much as we can. So with these words, I will thank you for the attention, and I guess we'll leave the questions for the latter part of the program. Thank you.